right. Hi, everyone. My name is Christine, and Global Education Therapy today is going to do a very quick, short conversation with the lovely Vivian of Expat Nest. And we're going to talk about transitions, how it is for our kids when they move, how can we best support them? And we're just going to have a nice little chat. So, Vivian, thank you for joining us. How are you today?
Pleasure to be here with you, and I love the collaboration we have. I'm doing well, and I'm really looking forward to actually give some value to your audience on this important topic of relocation. And it's time of the year that now we have more and more relocations.
Yes, we do, especially since summer is coming. We call it PCS season for a good reason for military, UN, Foreign Service State Department families. And I think this is the question I always get is what are the biggest challenges children face when moving to a new country or home? What do you
Mhm.
think, Vivian?
Right. So this is actually a reality for us a lot in therapy too, because yes, the international lifestyle has lots of blessings, but it has some challenges. As it's written in the book of the Third Culture Kid, written by Dave Pollock and Ruth Van Reken, with one plane ride, the whole world, as you know it, dies. And there's no funeral because we're caught up in the business of starting a new life, etc. So the main challenge sometimes is actually allowing, giving space to the children grieving for these hidden losses of a relocation. It could be the loss of friends, the loss of belongings, it could be the loss of what is familiar, or also the loss of the missed opportunities. And this is actually one of the trickiest because it could be, the birthday of a best friend back home, or it could be the graduation of your sister a continent away. These are all the hidden losses and they can be also accumulative. It will have more and more locations. So the grief is also accumulative.
Absolutely.
And if I could just focus on one part, that would be the main challenge. But again, this lifestyle has a lot of blessings too. I don't want to focus only on that. And part of our role, and in general, what I advise parents, educators, is to maximize the blessings and minimize the challenges. We're primarily related to the losses, and then we can see, the consequences of that, affecting school performance. It could or affecting, friendships, etc.
Definitely, definitely. What I like what you said was the idea of grief, right? Because we do think grief is, this, okay, losing a person, right? But we don't really think of it of losing a home, friendships, a lifestyle, right? An imagined lifestyle. So I felt like that really resonates because I'm a TCK myself.
Mhm.
I was originally born in England, but my parents are from Malaysia. But I moved to the US, and that's how I felt. That loss of what could have been. So to bring it
Right.
back, I really love that you brought that up. And I think it puts many people into perspective because many of our parents didn't move, right? And so trying to help your child through this, right? I think most parents tend to be like, oh no, but think about the positive, think about the positive. What do you think about parents who are like, oh, let's just think about the positive instead of like really being okay with the grief and understanding that? What would you say to parents?
Yeah, I think it's important for all parents, first of all, to realize that there will be emotional fluctuation.
Yeah,
There will be highs and lows, good and bad days. Even if it's a move that the whole family wants, even if a child has agreed on that move.
yeah,
And by the way, here it's always very important to ask your children whether they want to, like, to participate in the decision-making process. So it's okay to accept that all emotions are normal. You
mhm,
can just have, the enthusiasm. Yes, we can have the honeymoon phase, and that's part of the normal cycle of adjustment. But after the honeymoon phase, you're going to have also the difficult part of adjusting and the culture shock of realizing, oh, this is very different. Things are done differently here, and they're not familiar anymore. Or I don't have friends. Or this school is asking me now to speak a different language than my native one. Curriculum changes, all of these challenges that the child can face. So above all is about allowing, giving the space for this process to take place naturally. And also a healthy goodbye is very important for a healthy start. How we prepare for the relocation is a great starting point for the new life in the new home.
absolutely, absolutely. And so I really like that you use the word adjustment because not only does it lead to our second question, but I think it really ties into, right? How do we prepare for the move? How do we adjust to our new lives? So, with that said, I guess many parents ask, how can parents tell the difference between a normal adjustment and when a child is really struggling? What are some early signs of stress or dysregulation we should look for?
Right. First of all, what we need to watch out for is intensity, duration, and impact. Because the highs and lows, there are normal parts of a relocation. We see that in the process. It's okay. Emotional fluctuation is okay. However, if they persist, then this is something to look out for. For example, it's different when your child wants to cry after having a phone call with their grandparents a continent away. That's okay. But if your child cries for a prolonged period of time for no specific reason, we have to see, do we have a depressive trait here? So some signs in general to pay attention to is if they have high levels of anxiety, they will have poor school performance, difficulty to make friends, if the child is like has more withdrawal or feels more isolated, like if they feel like very lonely, if they have disturbed sleeping pattern, eating pattern, they usually these two areas are really easily affected. And of course, if they feel like intense homesickness, or another one is when they start having lots of psychosomatic symptoms. And this is important because whatever is not expressed through our words is expressed through our bodies. And many children or teens, they don't have the words for this kind of hidden losses that they're experiencing for that process that they're in. And they say, oh, I have a headache, I have a stomach pain, I have this and that. And then we just focus on the medical aspect, but it could be psychosomatic. And that would be really, actually, this is one of the most common signs that I see in
Okay,
therapy.
definitely. Thank you for the
And of course, if
examples.
something is more serious, like suicidal thoughts,
Yeah,
self-harm, eating disorder, then of course it needs immediate intervention and perhaps like with a multidisciplinary team. But of course, these are more serious cases.
absolutely. It's absolutely. And I think what you're highlighting are great examples, right? Because I think you and I have definitely seen that with many of our families when they first move, a big move, or even small moves, right? Like it could be in the same continent or the same country, but it's the concept of shift, of change, of disruption. And
Yes.
one thing I also want to say too, and I'm curious what you think about this, is sometimes I do feel like it is typical for some kids to have some mood shifts and some, eating habits that change. But I think it's about duration of time, right? Like how long? Am I right on that?
Yeah, the duration and intensity is
Okay.
definitely something to watch out for. And also, it's important to also see about the eating part because
Yeah.
I see it a lot in therapy.
Mhm.
Many children, because they feel they have no choice over the change, the big change in their lives, they want to control something. And usually they start controlling their food consumption, like their calories, their body, etc. So it can happen, yeah, but the intensity, and you know what? Parents are the true experts when it comes to their children. They
Yes.
know their children best in this world. You have to trust also your intuition, like if something feels off with your
Yeah.
child.
Absolutely. Trusting the gut, right? We call it trusting your gut,
Of
trust
course,
because
of
you're absolutely
course,
right, right? We are merely resources, but when it comes to experts, you guys, parents, are the expert in their child and
of
understanding
course,
how they are.
of course.
Yeah, because I'm glad you brought that up because as a feeding therapist, right, as well as an OT, I look at those daily activities, right? I look at those skills, and sometimes we see regression. Sometimes we see, I would see a lot of progress, and then the child moves and then they have a bit of a regression. So I
Yes,
definitely see that as well.
yes, yes. Hmm.
Yeah. So with that, I do think I know you will also work with neurodiverse children. I know we do also in GET. Um, and many of our kids have attention deficit, autism, learning differences, differences, and things like that. They are neurodiverse, as we say. But I was kind of curious. So, as you know, food is a big one for us.
Hmm.
Besides food, I think sleep, like sometimes even potty training, right? Like we see some regression there. What are some strategies and skills or some things that you normally recommend for families in those situations?
Yeah, first of all, it's about understanding that neurodiverse children rely heavily on predictability, routine, sensory familiarity. So a change can disrupt all of this at the same time. So it can be extremely overwhelming for a child uh, who may have, ADHD, autism, all of the spectrum that we're talking about. So they may need more preparation, more repetition, more structure, clear expectations to know step by step what is going to happen. And sometimes what I find very useful is when they have visuals with pictures rather than, long sentences and stories that don't make real sense. The visuals are really helpful. And perhaps additional emotional and sensory support. And I know you do a fantastic job in the sensory support and speech therapy, etc. In the emotional aspect, we try to focus on the points that I just mentioned, but I think the collaboration that we have on this neurodiverse children can really have the best outcome because they need both specializations. I don't know, would you like to add something
Yeah,
here?
of course, of course. So thank you for laying that beautifully. And yes, Vivian's correct. The best support, I think, is collaborative, right? Which is what we do at GET, and I know you guys do at Expat Nest. But what I have noticed, the differences in transitions, just to repeat what you're saying beautifully, it's all about the fact of change and structure, right? Like so many of our kids who are neurodiverse may have difficulty with speech or understanding, right? Executive functioning. So they really rely on structure and routine. And so the minute that is broken for them, it's almost like another tool is gone, right? And so how do we work with that? So absolutely, we do see like activities of daily living, so some regression, some difficulty with eating, maybe potty training, maybe more clinginess, different behaviors that they were like, oh, I haven't seen this in a while, right? And so we work that together. Sometimes I think the biggest transition that we see is the transition with different providers, right, and different teachers, right? As soon as kids know who's safe, and then they have to do that again, right? That's very tough for them. So one of the things that I really like about online services is that we stay with the kids, right? I know you guys do at Expat Nest. We know them. We've been
Travel
through
with them,
changes
yes.
with them, right? And
Mm,
so that's one of the things I really like about online services is that we connect with their new providers, we connect with their new teachers, we share, we collaborate, which is definitely something I know you and I do.
right. We're
Yeah.
the connecting thread, no matter where they are, and we
Mhm.
provide the kind of structure and stability they need.
Absolutely. I like that you brought up visual schedules. I'm a big fan. I am also guilty as a parent for talking too long. And just having all these long, elaborate things. You're absolutely right. So, using something such as a first then schedule is wonderful, right? Just, okay, first we're going to do this. And then for prep, something I work with my students is letting them see their new school, doing virtual tours. Technology is pretty
Yeah,
awesome, actually. So,
it
I would
helps a
do
lot.
sessions. Yeah, just, oh, look at this cool fountain, or, oh, look at their cool gym, things like that. Or even, if you can, seeing their new house, their new neighborhood, things like that, I think has been very, very helpful.
True.
Definitely. So I
Mhm.
don't know. I mean, do you do the same thing? Like, how do you guys work with us OTs? Like, let's say, hey, we're working with getting the child to prep with the new place. How do you guys normally work with that situation?
It's a similar to a great extent in the sense of preparing them mentally, also with the photos, etc. Do you mean about our collaboration, how we will collaborate if we have the
Yeah,
kids like
just
that?
hypothetically, let's show people who are interested in GT and Expat Nest how that collaboration looks like, because I know a lot of
Right. So
families
you
have
would
asked me
do
that.
the practical part, as you said, about the sensory
Mhm.
information,
Correct.
and we would do more how the child feels going through the hit and losses, talking about who are the people who are left behind, who are the people now in the life of the child, also exploring what are the rituals that they had in the previous host country, what new structure we can create in the new country. Also, it could be about liaising with the parents about a family plan, what
I
they
like
can do. So this we believe in a triangle of success between the child, the parents, and us as psychologists. And then if we were, let's say, if it was a case that we were working together, we would liaise with you too with specific recommendations and apply a common intervention plan that would include both aspects.
Absolutely, absolutely. So right now, I think I'm working with at least like 5 kids who are moving. And that's pretty typical per summer, per, tour, right, for families. And so what's kind of nice about working with Vivian and other individuals at Expat Nest is just being like, okay, so we know weighted blankets work. We know he has a sensory routine, right, where before bed we smell lavender, we do like a nice white noise, we hug, we do a choice board and stuff. So, I could just like share that, right, with families as well as Vivian. But what's kind of great about that is now that we kind of have the tools, right? And when they transition, sometimes those tools don't work as well. Sometimes we need them more. Right. So it's kind of
Yes.
nice. What I like is like working together and me being like the parent being like, oh no, this isn't working as much. Me being like, oh, maybe try more. And then having sort of like an extra pair of eyes be like, well, actually, I'm
Yes.
seeing this. So that's the part of collaboration I
Right.
like.
And we have done it
It's like a village.
successfully in previous cases in the
We have.
past. And I think parents really appreciate that too, because they feel that, okay, together we have a plan, we're going to get the results they want. Maybe
Yeah.
we need to do more or we need to do less in some cases, but eventually we're going to have the result because this is what they want. They want their kids to be happier and more relaxed. They want
Mhm.
themselves to feel happier and more relaxed. And together we can actually get there.
What are other simple ways we can help children feel safe while they're settled and regulated? What do you think?
Right. First of all, it's important, apart, as you said, apart from allowing the space and just be there without providing solutions. They don't need another solution. Deep down, they know, but they need someone just to listen to them, to talk, to offer them that safe place. And another thing could be to remind them that the love and the friendship are not gone. As we said before, with one plane ride, the whole world in a way is dying and we have to start a new life in a new location. But this doesn't mean that the love is not there anymore or that the friendships are not there anymore. I have many, especially teenagers, that they say, but what's the point of investing in new friendships? I'm going to move again in 2 years. But there is a point because this is your life now.
Mm,
And the love and the friendship are not gone, and you can talk to them there. Now with modern technology, you can keep in touch online, or you can try to arrange seeing them, next
mm,
summer, etc. So there are ways, and it's about really that continuity with the past, the present, and then the future that you can still be friends and project
yeah.
positively into the future. Of course, if the kids or the teens want, put up photos of the previous life in the new home would also help because again it's
I like
serving as
that.
that connecting thread. It could, and of course in some cases emotional support can help them if this is what they need, if they feel that no matter what they do this is not enough. But primarily that would be the starting point, but the reminder that the emotions change and the way you feel right now doesn't have to be this way and it's not going to be like
Mm,
this forever helps a lot. This too shall pass.
mm,
It's not going to be like this forever. Emotions change. And this is so helpful because, when we're in crisis or we're in like sadness, we think that this is how it's going to be forever. But there is comfort in knowing that there is an end to that. And
absolutely.
we are there to help them, of course.
Yeah. And so just to bring it back with neurodiversity and kids, I think some of our children on the spectrum have a very black and white thinking. So
True.
almost like, no, I don't want to say challenging that thought process, but it makes sense, right? Why some students and some of our kiddos are like, okay, it's done. Like, cut the tie, we're done. But what I like what you're saying is there is so much benefit to being okay with that gray area of like, okay, I've moved, but this connection is still important. I can still, I can still say hello. I have WhatsApp, I have Zoom, I have all these things, that I think
Hmm.
it really is a nice functional way to teach children. There is, that black and white thinking is not always fact. right? So I think
No,
that's
and
really
that's why though it's important to have also healthy, like you can have a goodbye party.
hmm
So it's a clear cut in their minds that, okay, this is now the end of that cycle of my life. And then a welcome party in the new location too. Of course, for the new friends, etc. But then if they're open to it, they can send photos to their old friends back from the two parties that in a way they're symbolizing the end and the new beginning. This is actually something that I encourage my clients to do if
yeah.
their children are willing to do
Yeah.
that. And actually, it helps a lot with making new friends in the new location too.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that idea that like your old friends can actually help you with new friends, right? Remembering your bonds, remembering the interests you learned from them, remembering, and I know a lot of my students struggle with some social language pragmatics, being like, hey, remember that one time you talked about that, music band you liked and you guys didn't agree 100%, but you guys came together, right? Let's use the past to help us with the future. So
At Expat Nest, what we try is above all to offer that safe place for people to feel happier and more relaxed. And we work with kids and we work with teens, individual, adults, couples, and families. So we work with a whole group. So if we are like one-stop shop for anyone needing anything for mental health, and we have a large team of psychologists and work with a big variety of issues from relocation adjustment to anxiety, depression, relationship issues, school issues, bullying, what, like, you name it. And we also offer our services in line languages at the moment. All the languages are on the website. For example, some of them are English, Greek, Spanish, Italian, Portuguese, Arabic, Chinese, and Assyrian. And what we're trying to do is actually by having strategic alliance partnerships, as we do with the global education therapy, is truly offer the maximum value to our clients because we focus exclusively on the emotional well-being of the clients. But in many cases, as we said before, we need the collaboration. We need the speech therapist, the occupational therapist, or we need the psychiatrist, or we need the educational consultant to have the outcome that we want. So I would encourage, to the people who are listening to us, if they are not sure about what they need, etc., to have a free 15-minute call with us and also with your services. And I would love to know more also about the services now at this interview that we're having. And then we can answer all the questions and then see what's the best way forward and how we can help them, provided our services are the right fit.
Absolutely. So thank you for throwing it back to GT. Much appreciated. Yeah. So as you know, global education therapy, one of the things we work on besides speech therapy, occupational therapy, educational intervention. So that is everywhere from reading, math, English, science support. We also have social skills group, but the most important part is it's all online. And very similar to Expat Nest as well, we have a whole team. We actually have some new members of our team who speak Spanish as well as French and English. So very exciting, very important for speech, of course, and for our services. But most importantly, we are all about being online and providing expat support, right? A lot of us live abroad, all of us are raising children abroad. And so you're not just in a clinic, right? You're with a team, a resource group of individuals who will provide holistic care. And if we can't do it, we know tons of wonderful people, such as Vivian and Expat Nest. We know lots of other sponsors. We will make sure you are connected. So in terms of transition, what we do, very similar to Vivian, is, we work what your child needs and then we expand it. We work with teachers, we work with parents, we make sure your child is connected so they get the best support. So that
Right.
is
And
really,
I think
I
it's
think,
important what you said with people who are also expert specialized, and we have gone through the process of relocation in their work like 1,000 times, and they know faster how to get you there to the outcome you want.
well, Vivian, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sharing great strategies and just having this lovely little conversation with me. As you know, at Global Education Therapy, Expat Nest is on there. Check out our sponsors. Check check out what we have. We have lots of parent resources. And please go ahead and check out the rest of our webinars and short talks with wonderful experts such as Vivian and all of our sponsors. All right. Any
Thank
last
you
words
too.
before we go today?
No, just to pass on the message that, as I said before, emotions change. No matter what you're going through right now, the solution always lies in taking action. And that I wish them all the very best in their location process. And yeah, we'll be in touch if they need anything further.
All right.
Thank you for having me here.
Of course, of course. Everybody take care and stay tuned. We have more coming up.